Hello, everybody. We are live on the Daytripper Photo Show. It is show number 115. Tonight, we're talking about in camera or in post, editing in your computer, or can you do these things in your computer? Do you guys do a lot of this stuff where you're thinking as you're shooting, hey, you know, I wonder if I'm going to plan this effect after the fact, or can I just do it in camera, like multiple exposures, things like that? Gabriel, do you ever run into a situation like that?
Thought I did, but going through my photos looking for examples, it turns out I don't do a whole lot. Most of the modifiers that I use would be the polarizing filter and stuff. I don't do a lot of the zoom effects and things, but I may still find some examples. I'm going through them now.
All right, cool. Well, let us know if you find something. Navi, what about yourself? Like, do you ever start shooting and maybe do longer exposures to get a specific effect, or do multiple exposures in camera, things like that?
Yeah, I think that kind of stuff. I try to plan out ahead of time to plan to do it in, or try to achieve it in camera.
Mm-hmm.
But if I see something afterwards that maybe I didn't apply the effect, I might try to recreate it in post-production.
Well, there's so many things you can do. So tonight, that's what we're going to talk about. Some of the creative effects that you can do directly in camera versus editing afterwards. We're going to talk about some of the things that you might need to do, things that you have to do in post that you just can't do in camera. Maybe look at a few pictures and talk about, how is this done? Could we simulate this ourselves without having to edit? So, I love how Gabe always says it. He says, what is it you say, Gabe, about editing?
The picture captures the moment. The editing adds the mood.
There you go. I think that's so true.
That's very good. I like it.
And of course, everybody knows I like Trey Ratcliffe. His photography is awesome. And one of the things he says is to the effect of, if you can love the post-production as much as the shooting, then something magical can happen. So, it looks both ways. Some people prefer to edit it. Some people prefer to do it in camera. It's kind of a mindset that people have. So let's get into it a little bit. Let's talk about that stuff. And just to remind everybody who's watching right now, please, if you have anything to say, if you want to just say hi, if you have a question or even a situation that's happened in your own photography that you think might help the show, go ahead and post it in the Q&A. I see Robert's already said good evening. Good evening to you, sir. I hope you're feeling better. Robert, one of our regulars, he just had this horrible thing. Got all dizzy, wasn't feeling well. So, Robert, I really hope you're feeling better soon. And, even you weren't feeling well, you still posted a photo to the challenge. So, good on you. Thank you very much for that. All right, so what else can we start off with here first? Oh, I just want to remind everybody.
Your chapstick flavor.
What?
So tell me your favorite chapstick flavor. Mine's classic mint.
Okay, I like cherry.
Right,
I'll just go with cherry.
There you go.
Yeah. Gabriel, what's your favorite chapstick?
I don't know, mine's upstairs. I've got the new little ball ones.
Oh, yes.
So I get the blue one by default, apparently, because I'm a dude, and Trish gets the pink one, even though it tastes better, but I think she's just playing the sexist game so that she can get the better one.
All right, well, that's the beauty of a show like this, is we get to squirrel as much as we want. Anyway.
That is right on topic.
Right on topic. Okay, so just want to say a quick thank you to our sponsor for the show, Lens Pen. You guys are awesome. Always finding new examples and things you can do with your lens pens. Last night at the Camera Club, I was looking through some of the photos. We were doing a critique of December and January. It took us the entire 2 hours or 3 hours of our Camera Club just to go through our photos last night. One of the pictures I saw was from one of the people who post once in a while, Bryan Steves. He had a picture of his camera looking into a mirror, looking back at the thing with a monitor, and there were all these reflective surfaces, and all I can see on the back of his camera were fingerprints and smudges. So I was like, ugh, my OCD kicked in, and I gave him one of those Lens Pen surface cleaner pads. They're awesome. So yeah, he was quite appreciative, and he cleaned it right away. So good for you. So thank you to...
And just on a side note, Brian, for future reference, remember it's CDO. OCD in alphabetical order the way it should be.
Oh, yes, thank you. I guess I'm not that bad. I just have minor OCD. Okay, so let's start talking about some of the cool things. Oh, before we do that, sorry, I always forget this part. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube, like the show. Click the little like button. Subscribe to our channel. Share it with your friends. Let them know that we're doing this. We're having a great time. And we've got a huge, huge, huge announcement to make on the show tonight. What the heck? Let's just talk about it right now before we get into the meat and potatoes. So, first of all, everybody knows we have this great wedding session coming up. I'm so excited about that. These two here have worked so hard on it. All kinds of notes and the everything that we're doing. I mean, even this right here. This is the bag that you're going to get that is the goodie bag. Inside this bag for you, there's going to be all kinds of freebies. There's going to be coupons. There's going to be... I know, it's huge. This bag's like $300 bag. And we're giving these away to every single person that registers for the wedding session. I'm so excited about that. Inside the bag, there's all kinds of... What else do we have for inside the bag? Navi?
You can't tell them. It's a surprise.
Oh, surprise goodie bag, gift bag. All right, well, this is enough. So if you haven't registered and you want to register for the wedding session, www.daytripperphoto.com. Get that done right away. But beyond that, in September, Daytripper Photo is going to hold their first,
Wait.
Our first...
Wait, it's taking forever.
Oh, God, it seems like it's so far away.
Wait.
You have to wait until September, and everybody has to wait for the news.
First.
And then it's our first
What's happening?
ever annual... That's so slow. That's just awful.
Whatever.
The Daytripper Photo Expo. We're having a huge... Yeah, exactly. No, don't go to the expo. What are you doing? Anyway, Daytripper Photo Expo. It's going to be September 19th and 20th. We have 9 instructors. We have the entire 4 halls of the Newmarket Community Center. We're having a huge show. We're going to have reps on hand to clean your sensors and to align your lenses. Even the keynote speaker is Dave Black, the sports photographer, a Scott Kelby instructor, my favorite light painting instructor of all time. I'm excited. I'm stoked, and this is going to be great. So, guys, check out Daytripperphoto.com. The page is already up there with some basic explanations of what's happening. And on a daily basis, I'm going to be making blog posts about this. Every time we get a new instructor, every time we seal a deal, every time we get a major sponsor, every time something big happens with this expo, I'm going to be posting about it. So, guys, keep your eyes tuned to Daytripper Photo. There's a lot of big things coming down the pipe. What do you think of that, guys? Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. I'm looking forward to that.
I hope so, because you're both going to be instructing, so.
We are. Just kidding.
Oh, good. I don't have to buy tickets.
Well, yes, you do. Anyway, so I didn't mention that part in your contract. All right, let's get to the discussion. Let's talk about what we can do in camera and not have to worry about doing editing afterwards. My favorite thing I'm into right now is light painting, and there are some really cool things you can do with that without having to do virtually any editing. One of the best parts that I found about these latest pictures that I made, I'm just playing, guys. I'm just, finding out how the brushes work and how they look on the camera, and I'm not thinking about this is going to be a picture I'm going to print large or sell to a gallery or anything like that. I'm just experimenting with this stuff. So why don't I do a quick screen share here and show you what I'm talking about, rather than just stand here babbling, waving my arms around like a fool. All right. So here is a quick shot here.
Cool.
This is just a garbage bag on top of a table with a little, what are those things, soapstone carving, and my light wand. And just by using the blue color and taking that wand and dragging it across the bottom there, it creates that really neat looking, like a water kind of look, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A fluorescent pond.
Yeah. And then this one, I kind of took it one step further. There you go.
Cool.
Yeah.
That was cool. Yeah, I like that.
Thanks. I had a little statue when I cut away. You can probably see it on the ledge of my window behind me here. This little wolf on these rocks, and the rocks below are just some rocks that Shelly and I, whenever we travel somewhere, we always take a stone just to remember the area by. So these are all stones that meant something to us when we were in Algonquin or who knows where. I don't remember. She remembers where every stone goes, or was from. And then my light wands. I used a little red. I used a white on top for the Aurora Borealis, kind of gave a greenish color. Yeah, it was neat. It's fun. But this is like literally the only editing I did here was I lowered the exposure by 1.25. That's it. Everything else is all done in camera. So you can have a lot of fun just by playing around with some features or even just techniques in your camera. It doesn't even have to be special features. Have you guys done stuff like that before?
I haven't done any light painting, but I've done some panning, like trying to catch something that's moving quickly, or keeping them in focus but having the background blurry, sort of playing around with shutter speeds and that kind of stuff. So done that kind of stuff.
Panning is a huge thing that people try hard to get good at. It's not easy to be consistent.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is trial and error and knowing what you're shooting and sort of the pace or speed that it's moving at. Shooting a cat running is slower than a NASCAR. There's that cat
again. She just happened to jump up on my lap.
He's like one of those magicians. Every time you say cat, he says, a cat? Cat? A big puff and it turns into a dove and flies away.
Now do that same effect with cake. Cake! No?
No, I've only got peanuts. That's all I have around. No, okay. That's funny. No, so it's really cool what you can do. So tell me about your panning experience. Like, is this something that you try and do? Did you challenge yourself?
Actually, this specific photo here, I think I've showed it before, but I'll do it for example.
Henry, I see you've asked if I could show the light brushes that I used. I will. I'll get those in just a few seconds, and I'll show you what I used and how I modified them.
Here we go. So this image here, I sort of I kind of knew what I wanted before taking this. Like before I even got to New York, I was like, I want one of those cool shots of the cabs kind of going through Times Square. So I was kind of prepared for it. This was done in camera. I don't think there was much editing of maybe some saturation to get some more color out of the lights in the background. But other than that, I did this a couple times before I got one that I really liked.
Well, the cool thing about a shot like that is it's not just the effect; it's actually a well-composed, interesting-looking image. You know, the cab driving into the frame from the left side. It's like following the way your eye would go. The rule of thirds is in play with the billboards.
Sorry. I wanted to make sure you could see that it said NYC. Not like it was like Dundas Square or Toronto.
Yeah.
So
Gabriel and I have done the Toronto thing. Panning and all that.
I went down. Actually, I just saw a couple of those pictures earlier. I went downtown to drop off something to a customer, and they had this whole street blocked off from end to end. And I don't know if it was a TV show or a movie that they were filming, but they had this whole accident scene, and they had police cars and ambulance and tow trucks and stuff, but they all said like New York Police Department on them. So it was like a little street of New York right in Toronto. So I started taking pictures of it and posting it to Facebook. Everyone was like, "Where the hell are you?"
I can really do that.
There's a lot of stuff like that in Toronto.
Yeah, you turn around, you're like, oh, I'm in 1970s New York.
Yeah, exactly. So what other effects can we think of, guys, that you could do in camera these days that may look better in post, let's say? Like, what about HDR?
Yes, I would say that's probably better in post.
Yeah, I'd say it probably depends on your camera, but for the most part, you're right. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of cameras, especially point and shoots, and the new sort of more digital ones like the Sonys and stuff, sell a lot of features to have in camera processing and stuff. And even the 5D Mark III, it comes with the option to do in-camera HDR, but it also asks you, it's like, yeah, we're going to do in-camera HDR. But do you want to hold on to the pictures anyways? Because this may not be that great, so you're going to want to do it yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You have more control when you're doing post-production.
You have more control, but you also have more dynamic range.
Yeah.
It's funny, I was just watching Rogers a few minutes ago. I noticed that Ross's TV show, the Photo Video Guy, was on, and that was the episode that he invited me on. Sorry, I had to put the cat down. He invited me on to talk about HDR. And one of the points we made was that the built-in features usually work with JPEGs, not RAWs. So it's not capturing as much dynamic range. And then it's usually only taking about 2 shots, not 3 or 5. So you're not getting that broad range of exposure either. So you're just not getting that same amount of information when you do HDR in camera. Although, as Gabriel suggested, they do have some good cameras out there that have that feature built in. Panoramics. Do you guys ever do panoramics in camera?
Only for demo purposes work.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you mean?
Well, like when I'm showing a customer how to take panoramic in camera,
Mm-hmm.
Some cameras will have a feature where it'll stitch it together. So just click the button once, and you kind of go like this. Like phones, iPhones will do it. We just do a pan. It makes a pan in camera. Whereas I remember the Canon point shoots. I don't know if they still do, but you have to take click, 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 and then do it in software.
That's right. You'd take a picture, line it up with the second picture on the screen, and keep on going. Yeah. And now all you have to do is sweep across.
Yeah.
So the problem with panoramic in camera that I've always found is that you end up going horizontal all the time. Usually when I make a panoramic, I like to take my camera and put it vertical so it's taller.
Right.
That way you get a fatter, wider panoramic image. And I don't know too many cameras that let you do that. I know that they let you go side to side and up and down, but it's always in the horizontal position. So still, I'd say panoramic is a little bit better in camera. Plus you can overshoot. You can get the corners. You can get all the edges.
Yeah.
And not in camera, in post, I should say. It gives you more functionality for sure.
A lot more detail too, because you can do, a million different shots and put it into one. It'd be tedious put together, but you get like the Gigapan device that took, I can't remember what the megapixels was, but they take a pano of an NBA game that you can zoom in and see every face like perfectly clear because it's individual shots.
Actually, it's funny you say the Gigapan. What it's actually doing, and I'm going to do a quick screen share here, it's using the camera you already own and just mounting it to a mount, if you can see here. You just put your camera in there, and it will pretty much go through with your camera and move it around as a little robot and take all the pictures. You see how you have your SLR in there?
Now, does it zoom as well? Like does it zoom your lens and take the picture like of certain areas, or is it just goes like tap 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 and stitches it all together?
That's more what it does. It just basically the fixed focal length. It's not going to power zoom anything for you. It's a neat feature. It's a neat device to have. I remember they used this for the inauguration ceremony, the Barack Obama inauguration, and they were able to use just any camera and get this amazing detail. Like Navi suggested, you can zoom in, zoom in, zoom in like crazy, and see, from a mile away, totally see what the person's shirt says or something like that. So the Gigapan is a really neat offering, but it's certainly nothing that you can do in camera.
So here I've got an example of something here. Let me do a screen share. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So I've got a couple here. Let me go here. So like this one here, this one here, and this one here. So these are all. There's no post-processing on any of these photos. I could easily take a normal photo and post-process it like this, but they're all overexposed by 2 stops, and I have the white balance set to, I guess on these ones, I think it was indoors or fluorescent. I can't remember exactly, but you can get some really compelling images by putting your camera to the wrong white balance and overexposing it just by playing with the settings. I downloaded these right onto the computer, and I was able to post them right away without having to do any processing.
It's true, and you also do black and whites. I remember when we were doing the photo walk in June in Toronto there. You flipped the camera into black and white on purpose just to see what you got, and you got some really great results.
Yeah, I love black and white. I find black and white to be very challenging, and it forces you to see the light a lot more. Mm-hmm. Which I really enjoy. The other one was this one here. Speaking of like selective color, But I like this one because the original photo is that.
Huh.
Right? So the original photo, the car's actually blue, but I guess you could probably add some blur effects and stuff like that, but you could do most of this in camera, except for maybe the
Color
changing
swap.
the color. But you could change it a little bit. I just use the color replacement tool in here and just paint it over it with the paintbrush.
So you're saying this is something that you have to do in post to work best?
Yeah, you could do most of this in camera, like the blur and everything like that, and you could get a different tinge of color by doing a different white balance or something.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, as I go back and forth now, I see more and more that I edit out, like all the little details down here and stuff, and can't do that. You can't do that in camera.
Sometimes you forget what you've done in editing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Actually, it's funny. Don Komarechka posted here. He says, it's far easier to clean up a scene in person than do it in post. Remove a twig, strategically place elements in the foreground, etc. It's always a good idea to take a step back and contemplate what can be done here and now. The reason I went to that right now, first of all, it's absolutely true. I mean, just to look at your scene, evaluate what's in front of you, and make changes. I remember I have video of Navi in Algonquin moving these branches and stuff into the water so she can get the composition she's looking for. So you were pretty much doing that in camera, trying to do that right. But I had a photo that Don is actually my master in the Arcanum in my cohort, and I was having my critique with him, and I was showing him one of the photos, and I could have sworn it was one that I didn't edit. And he says, no, you edited this, Bryan. And I'm like, how the heck do you think I edited this when I know I didn't? And he showed me real close all the little details, what's going on with it. And I was like, oh, that is one that I edited. I didn't even remember. It's crazy sometimes. What are you showing us here, Gabe?
Well, this picture was actually taken in the middle of Toronto. No, I'm just kidding. I just loaded this up so you can see the next picture early. Here's one that I took. You know this picture well.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that.
This is, again, in camera, just a little bit of a slower shutter speed. And that could easily be kind of reproduced in post, just adding that sort of motion blur to it.
Well, zoom in a little bit on the cards so people can see what you're talking about, because it's probably really slow for them.
That's cool.
Small. Yeah, so we were shooting with our buddy Peter McKinnon, and he's a magician, sleight of hand, genius kind of videographer guy, awesome guy. And he was doing these moves and stuff. And I don't know if you really noticed this shot until I was going through some of the old shots. And I was like, dude, this is an awesome photo. How come you haven't done anything with this? And you're like,
I did. I sent it to him. He has it on his website.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a really cool shot.
Where were you guys? Where was
this? This is an abandoned house on Dufferin that I actually used to play in as a kid. And it's been there for, literally as long as I can remember. And about a month and a half after we did this shoot, they tore the entire place down.
Yep.
So it was perfect timing to get in there.
And later that night after the shoot, Peter was on our show as a guest, so he showed us the video that he made 4 hours after he shot it.
Yeah. Made
us both feel stabby.
I had one more. So this one, I think this is the last. There's a couple more. So this one really quick. This is not my best wedding photo ever. I wasn't the official photographer at this wedding. I was just kind of a guest. But again, this is an effect that you could easily create in post. But there were these big trees with these fairy lights, and I saw the bride standing there, and I just stood behind the tree, zoomed in with my 7200, and snapped this picture, and it creates this nice sort of glowy effect that could be done in post, but it's a lot easier to do in camera. And then really quick too, this one, there's no post-processing in this image. This is just really good lighting and overexposing the shot.
What is that?
It's a LED light bulb. If you look straight at it, so the little it's standing up. I've got it propped up with some like Play-Doh or something like that, and I'm shooting straight down on it. And I basically have soft boxes all around it to get even light, and reflectors and everything. So any light that does escape just gets bounced back on it. And I just overexposed it by about 2 or 3 stops, and took the picture, and that's exactly what I got.
That's a great technique, actually, the overexposure part. If you're trying to shoot any kind of stock and you get a dull photo, it looks gray or something like that, a lot of people will tend to take that photo into editing and then just, crank the crap out of it and bump up the exposure that way, when if you have lighting, just overexpose the background by 2 stops. That'll turn it white, and then you'll end up with a very isolated object in front of that. So that's a great way to get into that kind of thing. Henry, I'm going to show you the light painting tools now that we have a quick break. I'm going to pull another image up here just to remind people what the light painting is all about. So here we go. Is it showing up, or is it just a blank screen?
Right now it is just a blank screen.
All right, I don't know what's happening there, so let's stop that. And I'll just share the one that worked before.
Why don't you just try sharing the one that worked before?
Good idea.
Okay,
You're such
good.
a thinker. There you go. Okay, so this is
I'd love to help.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. This is what Henry's talking about, and you can see that there's the little blue strands and the white strand in the sky and so on. So what I used for that was this little gizmo here. This is a little thing that you can buy at Canadian Tire for $5. It's just a little battery-powered sucker. You just turn that on, and you got little fiber optic lights that glow and move around. It's kind of neat. The best part is you can pull that plug out of there, and now we just have fiber optic strands. So I took that, I made a coupler, strands everywhere, here we go, made a little coupler piece on the end, and I can just slide that over this little light wand sucker here. So this is just a colored light wand. Every time you press the button, it turns into a different color. Red, then it blinks red, green. You're not getting the colors probably on the webcam, but blue, all different colors. Yeah, so every time you press it, you get a different color out of it, and so on and so on. So the best part is you take that, you slide that piece over top, and I have a little piece of duct tape that I keep on the end here, so it's really easy for me to just use this over and over again, tape that on there like that, then that won't come off anymore. Pull the sheath up so that you don't have light glowing and getting in the photo, and there you go. You got a little custom light wand. Fun toy, fun toy. I didn't like using this because you see inside it just has 3 colors that shift on its own, and you can't control the rate that they fire or anything like that. They just rotate from one color to the other. So having it on that stick like this where I can choose whichever color I want, I just have to know how many clicks there are from blue to red or from green to whatever. So it's pretty handy. Works well. And then
That's cool.
I use these little modified flashlights that I picked up at the dollar store on Canada Day. And inside this one, I have a little red gel.
Oh, good idea.
So I can just draw with red if I want to. And inside this one, I have some Kleenex kind of shoved in there, so it's just a softer white light. And these are just little kind of rubber pieces. I can snoot the light down, and I can control how much light is coming out from where and so on. It gives me a lot of control, so I can, on that last photo that I showed you, that's how I got the light on the wolf. Bring that back up
Good
here.
idea with the gel on there.
Yeah, you know, I've got these little packs of gels. I bring them on my day trips and that, and they're just little swatches like you'd get at a... I'm holding my fingers up like you can see me right now. They're little swatches that you can get, like paint swatches, you know, they come in a big spindle.
Yeah.
And they're just tiny little pieces of gel. So there's all different colors, and I just found a nice rich red one, and I used it on that one flashlight. And you can see how the wolf has white light, but the rocks are all red. So the rocks I painted with the red gel, the wolf I painted with the white light. But it's funny, you know, when you're doing light painting, it's a perfectly black room, and this is about 170-second exposure. And as soon as I finished painting the wolf with white light, I grabbed the red one, and I went to paint the rocks, and I hit the table, and it shook. So you can see the rocks are a bit blurry, but the wolf is fine. So it's interesting how you can play around with that kind of thing, right? So, yeah, there you go, Henry. That's how I used what paintbrushes I made. And Don pipes up again. He says he just developed a technique that uses cross-polarization and birefringence Don, you have to use words that I know how to say, okay? Projected through an extremely bright flashlight to add random rainbow colors to a light source. Going to use it on some frozen soap bubbles soon. That would be very cool. That would actually be really cool. A lot of people are doing frozen soap bubbles, and on Sunday when we had our Fire on Ice day trip, Gabriel and I, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's so fun, in fact, that I believe 3 or 4 out of the 5 people that came have already registered for the next session at the end of February. That's pretty cool.
And 50% of the police officers that showed up are likely to register for a summer event. Yes,
that's exactly right. You never know who you're going to meet when you do these day trips. Last time we did Fire.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, last time we did Fire on Ice last year, all of a sudden a lady shows up with a huge big jug of coffee that she bought at Tim Hortons for everybody because it was so cold outside. So she's like, here, have coffee. It was awesome. And then last time, go ahead, Gabe.
Yeah, so I'm sitting there talking to the police officer. He was just, they're just doing their rounds, finding out what's going on. And so we're showing him some of the pictures, and he's like, that's incredible. And he goes, so how did you process that? And we're like, no, that's in the camera. Look, it's in the camera. And he's like, I should really take one of these. I've got this really fancy camera, and I have no idea what to do with it. And I'm like, we get that a lot. This is your classroom. Welcome to Daytripper Photo.
Exactly. I love that. And I gave him my card. This is your classroom. So cool. I always love that one. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go finish.
I was just going to say, I always love when somebody comes by and they're confused about what we're doing, because we do these things in public. We just don't tell everybody where we're doing it, so we don't have random people showing up. But sometimes it happens, and they see what we're doing, and they're like, what are you guys doing? This is so crazy. Fire flying all over the place. And then like Gabe says, you just flip around and show them your phone with a picture of the fire on there. Actually, Gabe, have you got one of the photos of steel wool handy that you can just pull up? So, because that's an in-camera effect. That's no editing needed.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Let me check. Why don't you stall?
All right, Navi, what were you saying?
I was going to talk about, I just thought about it, lens babies, right?
Oh, yes.
The lenses and stuff do all these different effects that you basically just do in camera.
Mm-hmm.
Quick screen share of their website here. So this is just one of the, I think this is their Sweet 35 lens. This is the kind of effect that it gives you. Right. And they have some where, like, similar to that picture that Gabe showed with the bokeh, you can get little different shapes, so you can do in-camera star effects, or I don't know if you guys have seen it on SNL during their commercial breaks. They have, like, the little I guess whatever you call it, a bumper or something, where they have, like, there's a shot of the city, but all the lights say SNL on it.
Right, so they have like an SNL aperture disc that they put in the lens.
Yeah, so this is
cool.
It's actually pretty creative. The lens babies are a really neat product. We've actually talked about them quite a bit on the web show. Previously we talked about them, and also on my TV show. The ability, like, that's the miniature effect you can get. What's happening is you have the optic of the lens with an outer element that's going to move around on its own.
Animated picture. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, perfect. So you twist the front element of the lens separately from the back element, and you get the bending of your focus points. So there you go. That's cool.
Yeah, some cool effects that you can get. They have a lot of different sort of lenses and accessories that you can get to get different effects.
Well, you know what? Again, this is just a really good way for people to experiment and try some different things with their photography. Oh, Gabe, you've got one up there. Beautiful. There you go.
That one yet.
Yeah. So that was I was shooting alone on that night. So one of the things I always say is wait for the steel wool to start spinning, and then press the shutter button. But you can see here there's a lot of spinning in the middle because I had to run up, hit the wireless remote, run back so I'm far enough away, and then start my spinning. So you can see a lot of that in there. But so this is entirely in camera. But what you can do, we were talking about on the Fire on Ice the other night, is take a reference photo. So take a long exposure before that. And you can see I zoomed in a little bit, did a little bit of editing, took myself out, and there's a tree that was in the background behind me.
Huh.
Right, so now it looks just more like, you know, the weirdest crop circle ever.
Or it's just floating there on its own. That's a neat effect. I'm glad you showed that one. So this is a combination of where we're talking about how you could do things in camera, and also through the aid of editing, improve it even further. That's excellent.
Sometimes you can't, like, depending on what you're trying to do, maybe you can't do it in camera, or like you can't do it at the time. And I'm thinking specifically, like, I'm looking at a shot of a motorcycle. You know, it looks like it's on the road, actually, and unless you want to be hanging out of a car or a car window, you know, you may not be able to do it. But I shot this years ago. This is my cousin on his motorbike. So he's actually just parked there, like, in a parking lot. And I was just kind of going through it. I was like, oh, I want to try and, you know, make it look like moving. So I did some post-production to make, you know, to give it some sort of motion. So I didn't really feel like, you know, hanging out in my car, trying to take this photo while he was driving down the road, so we kind of just faked it.
That's exactly where
Very cool.
Safety itself dictates you edit in post.
Safety first.
Safety first. Yeah, except with steel wool.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can get kind of hairy. One of the things you always have to be careful of is when you're getting creative, there's always a fine line between being creative and being dead. And sometimes, you know, you push the limits a little bit, but that's okay. You're allowed. Don says, actually, there's a company that strips the coatings off of old lenses to create crazy flare effects in camera. The lens is called Flare Factory, from a company called Dog Shit Optics. Dog Shit Optics. Spelled DOGSHIDT Optics, and he says he just ordered one. So we'll let you experience that first on, and then you can let us know what that's all about.
One thing I'll say to the listeners, one of the great things, and you'll really learn to appreciate this, one of the wonderful things about you know, lens flares and lens babies and stuff is that everybody has an opinion on whether or not that should be used. So, you know, post and don't read the comments. Or post it to the Daytripper Photo community, and all the comments will be useful and instructive. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. And there's so many things you can do, and I think the big thing to remember is just be creative. You know, think about what your camera's capable of. Read the manual. Gabriel, you do this cover to cover.
RTFM. Read the full manual.
We did a whole show on it. Absolutely. When you read the manual, you find out these little nuances that they can do. Like, did you realize? This is my segment. I'm making a video series called "Did You Know?" Did you know that a lot of cameras have built-in multiple exposures? So you take one picture, wait a second, take another picture, and it will layer them together in camera. That's pretty cool. Did you know that you can actually set your camera up to do time-lapse in camera? And some cameras will even stitch those together for you to make a little movie out of it. A lot of point-and-shoots these days are actually giving you time-lapse in camera. So it'll literally just take a bunch of series of videos and then stitch that into a movie without you having to do anything. That's something
great.
Oh, yeah. It's something that's really easy to do and is functional, right? So there's so many other cool
you own a
things.
Canon.
What do you mean by that?
Well, because Nikon has the intervalometer built in.
Yes.
Canon is intervalometer challenged.
I think the piece is about $280 if you buy it straight from Canon, around there. But you can buy, and this is a neat thing, you can actually buy intervalometer remote controls as cheap as $30. They don't have to be very expensive. A lot of no-name brand remotes out there are fairly reasonably priced, so something you should look into. Do a lot of that stuff. And you can download software that will merge video or merge photos into a time-lapse video for free. I use Time-Lapse Assembler. It was free. Works pretty good.
I just saw that company's logo, dog shit. It's actually a picture of a dog taking a poop. It's a silhouette dog in poop position.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, so let's flip the story, guys. Do you think we've covered that topic well, like what you can actually do in camera? Do you think there's anything else you'd like to add about what we can actually do in camera? And if anybody's watching right now and you have a thought or question, post that right now, because this is the time. No time like the present. Let us know what you're thinking. If you've done a really cool effect in camera and you want to share it with us, go right ahead and do so. Otherwise, let's talk about what you need to do with editing. A vision that you have in your mind that you just can't do in camera. So for me, HDR is that. We've talked about HDR already for what you can do in camera. I personally don't think it's that great to do it in camera, so I'm always going to suggest do it in post. So my recommended software for that would be do it in Photoshop if you have it. And if you don't have Photoshop, it's only $10 a month with Lightroom. Both softwares together for $10 a month. So just export your photos from Lightroom into Photoshop, and then it'll merge them for you. It'll get them all lined up properly and get rid of your ghosts and do all that kind of stuff. And as soon as you hit save when you're done, it goes straight back into Lightroom where you can finish it. You can add your shadows and your contrast and your detail and whatever else you want to do to make it look as HDR as you want it to look. If you want to funk it up, I used in the show with Ross, I said funkify. I said funkify on TV. Can you believe that? I'm making Gabriel cough. It's so crazy that I did that. Or something.
That was muted, right?
Yeah, you were.
Okay, good.
you see your hand up there, so it gives it away.
Okay.
So yeah, anyway, if you want to funk it up, you can use Nick HDR Effects, or you can use Photomatics, and they're great softwares for pumping up your HDRs. Navi, what do you love to do photographically that you can't do in camera?
Remove people.
Oh, yes.
You could just tell them get out of the way, but sometimes that random person that you did not notice in the background, you're like, shoot.
Absolutely.
Remove them. It's depending on what the background is or what what's around them. It could be a very tedious job, but you gotta do it.
Okay, so Gabriel, I'm gonna ask you the same question first.
Blinky.
Blink? What? Highlight?
No, like good catch. No, that should have been more clear. No, like when I'm doing wedding photos of groups, and I always I pull the camera up and then I count to 3, and as I'm counting to 3, because they all think I'm taking the picture on 3, I'm just mashing on that shutter, and it's just going bam, 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 and I've usually taken 6 photos before they think I'm going to take a photo, because once you get more than 2 people in a photo, it's like okay, everybody, look right here, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna something shiny. Right, so I'd take 15 pictures of each, and in those 15 pictures is one good frame of each person, and then you can just mash those into one picture at the end.
Gabe, what do you think about the talkers?
Oh yeah.
But I'm just gonna talk to this person over here and just what? So those are harder to, I guess. You can't just transplant their mouths. Sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's crazy, the attention. I mean, I get it. It's an exciting day and stuff like that. But every now and then I've just been like, hey, and everybody kind of stops. And I'm like, 1, 2, 3. But you don't get a lot of smiles with those ones. Or just terror.
I just shot a big bash party for a big car dealership around here, and I was walking around. Like, you guys know this, I'm not the type of person to be hired out to shoot events and things like that. I do it. I like the community side of it. I like doing it volunteer. But when there's expectations of results, I get a little bit nervous about it because it's not my bag. I'll shoot wrestling all day long, and I'll do HDRs and go into old abandoned houses and deal with drunks and stuff like that. I'm cool with that. But when it comes to shooting events and having expectations on results, I start getting a little bit very self-conscious. So I'm wandering around, and all these people are doing their thing. And finally, I punch myself in the face, and I just say, Bryan, get out there and talk to people and, get reactions and just involve you. So I go up to a couple, and I start I was like, hey, guys, how's it going? You mind if I take a photo? Like, hey, no problem, no problem. So I take a shot. And then I went to another person, try to barge in their conversation, take a couple shots. And finally I realized, like, everybody was just kind of blah. So I don't know why. I just thought I would do that trick, Gabriel, where you're saying count to 3. I said, okay, guys, just hang on one second. I'm going to count to 3, and on 3, get ready. Ready? Okay, ready? 1, 2, click, 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 click. And I took all the pictures before 3, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Look, they're awesome. You see, everybody, one shot." So it's just a little fun thing. I don't know if people laugh at people that do that kind of thing, but it worked. Worked all right, for me at least. All right.
Good.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Great conversation. Yeah, just see the hand. Okay, there's been a few comments that have come in. Robert says he's been trying to do a zoom effect with no success. Can you guys do a little explanation of how to do it properly, please? Absolutely. Lori says, joining late. Did you mention zoom blur? Just about to, Lori. Don says, stuff you can do in camera. Focus stacking. It's a tedious process. He's doing it right now. Yes, Don does anywhere from 30 to 70 photos stacked for a single snowflake. He says right now, DTP is numbing the pain. Awesome to be there for you. We are your medication. I'll take that. Lori says you can remove people from a busy mall situation by choosing the right shutter speed. Can you not? Absolutely you can. If you want to put on a neutral density filter, pretend that the entire environment is black, you can slow the shutter speed down for a minute and a half, and everybody moving would disappear from the shot. So technically you could do that, but the problem is you can't do it and have one person in the shot and then remove one other person. So like for a wedding photo, when you just have to remove a single person, that's where you'd want to do it in post. But if you want to just make everybody disappear, you can do that through the shutter speed. Although with some creative flash and some other techniques, you could probably make a person sharp and people disappear at the same time. That would be fun to play with. Have you done stuff like that, Navi? You've been to some of those places, like New York City, and have you ever tried doing that real long exposure thing?
Yeah, I actually did it on a beach once because I was trying to get a nice landscape shot, and people decided just to keep walking in front of the frame because apparently they couldn't see me there. Right? So I was like, okay, well, don't worry about me. Just keep walking in front of my frame. It's fine. So instead of getting angrier, I just actually put on neutral density and did a super slow shutter. Worked out fine.
There you go. And that's the cool thing about knowing your equipment and knowing photography is you can make these decisions on the fly, right? I'm going to quickly show an image here, a zoom blur photo. I have been really playing around with zoom blur quite a bit. This isn't one of the better ones, but it's the first one I found in my archive here. So this is what people are asking about with zoom blur. Obviously, I've processed this after the fact. I put it through Nick Silver Effects and got the black and white look because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted from it, and I'm playing around with it, whatever. So we have the two wrestlers in the middle of the ring, and halfway through the photo, I went with a really long exposure. I think this is about a 20th of a second that I use, and at that 20th of a second, as I shoot, I zoom at the same time. So all the picture kind of whooshes past, but what's in the center generally has some sharpness. And I also use flash, so the flash is going to hit them and create perfect stillness, and then I zoom past that and it creates the sharpness and then motion as well. So it's a fun effect you can play around with. And again, just to show everybody how that works, I got Mr. Snaps here. So I'm going to go into manual mode, just because that's how you can control your shutter speeds, your apertures, everything. Shooting with flash, I would usually shoot in manual anyway, probably around f5.6-ish, and that's going to give me more or less brightness in the backgrounds too. I will set my shutter speed to 1/20th of a second, 1/20. See if you can see it. There's right. Yeah, there it is, 1/20th of a second, f5.6, and then as I take the picture, with no lens cap on, because that's kind of sucky. Autofocus. I was doing my stuff last night there. And then I zoom as I shoot, and you end up with some motion blur on the edges of the shot there. So it just takes some practice, and you have to, if you want more of a blur, you can go with a slower shutter. If you want less blur, go faster shutter. The timing is kind of difficult, how as you shoot, the same time, focus, there we go, you still have to zoom as you shoot. So you're turning that zoom at the same time as you're taking a picture. So it's a fun thing to play around with, and hopefully you guys will start trying that out.
And I think it changes too, whether you zoom in or out, right?
Yes, yeah. It's a really neat effect either way, and just play around with both and have a good time. seeing if there's any more notes, any more comments.
Actually, you know what? I kind of do. I don't zoom, but like I purposely give some motion blur if I'm shooting like a recession, and I kind of want to show some action or whatever in the background. So I'll use a flash to freeze my main subject, but I'll purposely move my camera a little bit to kind of get the cool lights in the background with some blur and zigzag. Kind of gives it a neat effect.
It's the same concept, but a completely different twist. I think that would look really cool, especially when you have those lights in the background that are going to give you a harsh. Very neat. Gabriel, do you do some of that stuff?
No, not a lot.
No. You know, that's the kind of thing, like when you shoot weddings and you shoot events and things like that, they're not looking for that.
No.
You have to get it right in camera. You have to make proper exposure. You have to get good sharpness. It's not about playing and experimenting.
And on the earlier topic about taking pictures of like a single person in a busy area, I usually cheat with that and just do it with my phone. And with my phone, if somebody's standing in front of somewhere, say one or two people, and you just take picture, those pictures automatically get uploaded to Google+, and Google+ just figures out what you're trying to do and creates that picture with everybody else removed from the photo automatically for you. So I cheat.
That's awesome, though. I mean, Google Awesome that does some really cool things.
Yeah.
And it's funny how you've done it now long enough and you've played around with those features enough that you know to do it in advance. Like most of the time when I have a Google Awesome, it's just like, oh, I'm notified. I have a Google Awesome. What was awesome? I look back, I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool, But no, you're actually planning it as you shoot. That's cool. All right, so why don't we, unless you have something else to add, another in-camera effect you guys want to talk about, we're going to go to the photo review. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good to me.
So the photos we had for our photo challenge this week were, for the Essentials challenge, it was Peanuts, and for the Challenging challenge, it was Effects in Camera. And we've got some pretty cool photos to talk about. Gabriel, would you like to do the screen share?
Sure. Yes.
You were going somewhere with that.
I was going with something cute, but I'm just going to say yes.
All right.
Let me pull that up.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. I had an idea for the Peanuts theme. I actually took a picture of it with my cell phone and didn't do anything with it because it was just awful. But I took Peanuts and I found the photo of Peanuts, Charlie Brown and Snoopy and all that, and I drew on the Peanuts their little faces of Lucy and Charlie Brown and all these people, and I set them up in the same way that they were in the photo and took a picture. But I'm not a very good artist, and my drawings were horrible, so I didn't do anything with them. All right, so trust me, I'm a panda. Are you finding the shots? You're muted.
Dude, got him.
Okay, cool. All right, so why don't we start off looking at whose photo first? Tammy with Peanuts. So this is wasabi nuts in a peanut shell.
Ah, okay.
It's kind of cool. I love the lighting she used. Great detail, great focus where she needed it.
That's a great April Fool's joke.
Oh my God!
Take a peanut apart, and then put the thing in there, and then put some sort of light glue on there to make it seem like it's. Oh yeah. Wood
glue. That would work perfect.
Tasty.
Yeah. So would the wasabi be? Holy moly! I love the composition. It's nice and clean. It's a really neat shot. I don't think I'd want to go to Tammy's place for a party or for beer night, because you never know what you're going to be slipped there. But pretty cool shot. Very creative, interesting. Do you guys have anything to say about this?
Makes me want to lick wasabi peas.
Are you down for the wasabi?
Yeah, I'm down with it. Looks salty.
Is it? It seems a little warm. Like the color balance is, but I guess that could just be just the shells.
Now, are you judging that from the shell or from the background color?
I say a little bit from the background color, but I'm wondering if my vision's being influenced by the shells.
Hmm.
You know how
Could
like
be.
when you have those two gray boxes and one's surrounded by white, one's surrounded by black. The gray boxes look like different shades of gray, even though they're exactly the same.
No.
Those
You've
optical.
never seen that optical illusion?
No, I have. I just like being difficult.
Oh, okay. That's why we love you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate
I, no, actually, you know, because I'm covering the peanuts with my keyboard, and it looks pretty white.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, yeah, it's just the influence of the yellow from the nut shells make the picture seem a little warm, but I think it's actually pretty bang on.
That's interesting. I remember when I was a kid, I used to get those little buttercup flowers, and you hold them under your chin, and if it turned yellow
Yeah.
under your chin, you liked butter.
What?
Yeah, it's the things that kids see, right? So,
Never heard of that.
yeah, so that's what happens. It's all reflected light. So anytime you have light reflecting off of something, you're going to get a color shift. Interesting. Thank you, Tammy, for submitting. Great shot. Let's see Chris's photo. Peanuts.
Oh.
Get
See,
it?
I've looked at that a couple times in passing quickly and thought, what is that?
Even in her comment, she says that she's sorry because she had to use frozen peas. Now, personally, I think you're probably smarter using frozen peas. You definitely don't want to use cooked peas because that would just get mushy. So, yeah, good shot. I love the negative space. I think the exposure is great. Lighting is excellent. There's no harsh shadows or anything going on there on either side of the nuts. What do you guys think, Navi?
I like that she thought outside the box.
Hmm.
I remember I was talking to you. I thought the theme was like just nuts. Cause I saw this photo. I didn't even clue in to see that pea there. Like, oh, I got bolts and nuts. Got it.
Yeah, we got to be like really clued into all these little tricks. Our community members are awesome. They're clever people, and they like to play on words, and they like to think outside the box, and that's what we're hoping to see. So, excellent job, Chris. Really cool shot. Gabriel, anything to add?
I'm ditto on everything that you and Abby said.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right, let's have a look at Michelle's photo.
Let's.
All right, so my first thought is this is going for the naked photography, the all done in camera. This isn't the Peanuts theme. And, excellent job. I love when people go back to that. I don't want to edit. I'm just going to shoot everything in camera. Work for the shot. And she tried, obviously to get the steam in the shot isn't easy.
She got it, though. Good.
She got it, exactly. My question about this photo, though, is what is the focal point? The cookies or the steam? What do you guys think?
I'd say the focal point was the steam.
Should be, yes. What's more?
Or is like this section here.
Is that what's
right,
actually the most in focus?
I've got no
tough to tell.
zoom here, so it's hard. Actually, I think the cookies may be most in. Hard to tell.
That's what I noticed. I thought the cookies were what was in focus, and I think the steam is what was intended to be in focus. And Michelle, if you're watching, maybe you can clarify that. But everything else is great. I love the exposure. I love the lighting. I love the reflection of the nice dark wood on the bottom. It makes it look very warm and inviting. Like I want to just go there and have a cup of tea or chai or whatever that is. But I was kind of hung up on where the focus was. And since this is a critique, per se, I thought I'd bring that up. Navi, what do you think? You're getting a lot into food photography, and we're doing that food photography class coming up. March 22nd, by the way.
Now that you mentioned it, about the focus, yeah. It's hard to... I didn't really look for that. I kind of look at the cookie and the actual liquid part of the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I like it. Makes you want that cup of coffee. But it'll
Definitely.
put it in your mouth. Like, oh, it looks good.
She was saying how it's probably not good to be drinking the coffee while you're shooting it. 'Cause you have to keep
the
filling it
danger
up.
of food things, right? You're like, oh, this looks delicious. I'm just gonna have a few of these cookies, and before you know it, you've had 7.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
did the same thing. I was shooting pictures of beer. Remember the beer bubbles photo that I made? And every time I had to pour the beer into the glass to get the bubbles, right? So I'd pour the beer into the glass, and I'd think, all right, well, I'll just drink some of that and pour more beer in. And, okay, just drink a little more of that. Next thing you know, I've gone through 3 beers. And
Oh, you mean like my 4-bottle whiskey shoot?
Exactly.
That spanned about 3 weeks?
That's all the fun stuff. Okay, so Michelle is watching, and she says she had tried to focus on the rim of the cup so that the steam would be the focus. And do you think that's where the focus is, guys? I can't tell it all right now by looking at the small.
Yeah, it would be if it was a higher resolution image, then it would be easier to tell. It's a very small image, so we can't really zoom in at all. Yeah, I think the focal plane goes from right about here to partway through the first cookie. So I think that whole plane is pretty much in focus, but the problem is that there's a lot going on in that plane, so it's hard to tell where it was specifically intended for.
That makes sense. Yeah, I was last night at the Newmarket Camera Club. I did the first Did You Know, and I did it on the diopter in the camera, how to focus the actual diopter. And I think there was a few people that thought, oh yeah, I never really adjusted that thing. So sometimes when I see somewhere where a photo has focus in one place that they may have wanted it in another place, my first thought is the diopter adjusted correctly, and are you getting focus where you need it? So I just thought I'd mention that. The beer example is why she drank so much coffee that night. I get it. I totally get it. You're trying to get the frothiness to it. You're trying to get the steam to come back up. You have to keep on doing it over and over again. It's a process. It's a certain process for sure. Well, excellent job. I love the lighting, and I think it's a great shot. So thank you very much, Michelle.
I like the strong reflections.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the base actually really, really helps.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're here, Lori has taken a photo of something that we haven't seen people posting much for these days. It's the What the Beep Is That challenge that we issue, which is every week. If you have a photo that you've taken and it looks really different and you don't know what the heck it is, just post it to the community. Share it as the What the Beep Is That hashtag, and we'll have a look at it. There was a few comments about what this is. What do you guys think this is? I don't think it was ever announced by Lori what it is.
I don't remember announcing it. I guess sand. Some fancy looking sand.
Oh wait, no, she does actually. She has posted recently after Fred there. What does it say there, Gabriel?
Oh, okay. It's not at all what I thought. I thought it was unicorn vomit. The surface of a glow-in-the-dark balloon.
The what?
It is the surface of a glow-in-the-dark balloon.
Oh.
Weird.
I didn't even know there were glow-in-the-dark balloons.
Well, I think I need to get some for light painting.
Cool.
And that's really cool. I actually thought it was ice or melting ice or something.
Huh.
Very neat. Awesome. Well, thank you.
I was the closest with the unicorn.
Yeah, right. Awesome. Thank you, Lori, so much for sharing the What the Beep Is That this week. All right. Oh, looks like we got a new submission that I hadn't even noticed yet. Above there. Okay, let's start with Robert's. This obviously is his theme for Peanuts, and I love it. My first question, and you guys know what I'm going to ask. Is it GIF? You got it, Navi.
You and your GIF.
Oh, GIF is the best. You have to have GIF. If you haven't tried GIF, try it. It's awesome. And you can't buy it in Canada because we suck. So, whatever. Okay, first of all, well, the buying power of Canada is equal to California. It's just ridiculous. They just don't bring it up here because they don't think anybody's going to buy it. So that's my rant of the day.
All right.
Okay, so Robert, awesome shot. I love how the deep depth of field keeps your eyes looking all over the peanuts. You can see, you just keep looking around at all the different textures and so on. I think the white balance is excellent in this shot. I don't feel that yellowish glow. Do you, Gabriel?
No.
No. Excellent job.
No, I think if it was sort of half peanuts and then a white tabletop there, then we would see the illusion of the white balance spilling over. But because the whole frame is filled with the same color, then yeah.
Good point. Good point. Navi, what do you think about the corner of the bowl being cropped away?
It drives me a little bit crazy.
Yeah, you're getting your OCD kicked in again, eh?
Yeah, and just I kind of want to go like this a little bit. That's me.
Change the angle, you mean?
It's just it feels tilted to the right.
A
little bit. Like I feel like the peanuts are gonna fall off the table or something.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to know how to get that composition. It's an interesting thing. I didn't even think about that until you mentioned it.
I would try this exact shot shooting straight down.
Oh yes, I think that would be cool to kind of get the bowl with peanuts around it.
Yeah.
I think when you're like, like when you're cutting off an edge or something, you still want to keep it symmetrical to an extent, to kind of still have like sort of something for your eye to follow, because I still want to keep going and I want to see what's over here. So I just want to move it over a little bit.
I kind of had a thought about at least the corner of the bowl, why that might have happened, and I looked at the EXIF info, and you see that Robert shoots with a Nikon D90, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was using a 105 macro lens, so the edges are nice and flat and true. I love that. But when I looked into the D90's information, and I'm going to quickly cut over to my camera here for a quick sec and just show people where I'm looking. This is the Magic Lantern guide for the Nikon D90, and it says here the Nikon D90 has a fixed optical pentaprism eye-level viewfinder that shows approximately 96% vertical and horizontal of the full frame.
Right.
It's important to understand the consequence of this. It's reducing the viewfinder frame coverage to 96% in both linear directions actually reduces a viewfinder that it results in a viewfinder that only displays about 92% of the image area recorded by the camera. So what that means is you can't use your viewfinder to properly compose a shot and have
especially
it turn out.
macro.
Especially a macro, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It says it is not possible to frame an image in the viewfinder with complete accuracy, as there is a small but significant border outside the edge of each, blah, 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 blah. So, point being, sometimes if you're using that camera and you're composing an image, you take a picture, you look at it, and it's not exactly as it looked as you were trying for. So, I thought maybe that might have something to do with it. And Robert, he chimes in here and says that was for Gabriel's OCD. But if you knew Gabriel, you'd know to go CDO, not OCD. Just say it.
Exactly.
And again, Robert, I hope you're feeling better today. Robert's going to be instrumental in the Daytripper Expo, that weekend of the Daytripper Photo Expo, because Robert drives limo, and we're going to need Robert to go and get Dave Black and bring him to the event. So that's
so Dave gets a limo, but what? I got to schlep there in my Focus?
Oh, I'll double you in my scooter. It's fine.
There you go. So anyway, that's awesome. So that's very cool. Everything that I think right now relates back to how cool that expo is going to be. So I squirrel very easily right now. Harder than normal, of course. And so I love the lighting. What do you guys think of the lighting in this shot?
I like it. I like that he actually has a spoon in there, so there's some sort of context or something to it, as opposed to just a bowl of, peanut butter or whatever. So
excellent.
Good touch.
Did you eat all that peanut butter afterward? Because you're absolutely making me crave some peanut butter and jam sandwiches.
It's all those peanuts are filled with wasabi. It's fine. You don't want it.
Nice.
You do a peanut butter, and you get peanut butter, and then you mix in some like fresh honey, and then you slice some banana on top.
Oh,
that is it's scrumptious, and it's ridiculously healthy too.
Oh, I eat that quite regularly. In fact, when this show is over, I'm going to go downstairs and have a cashew nut and jam sandwich.
Ooh.
Yes, because Jif makes cashew nut peanut butter. Cashew peanut butter. Awesome. Cashew butter, I guess it's called. It wouldn't be cashew peanut butter. That's just weird. Okay. What's next?
All right. So let's go to the next one here. Let me find. Let's do this one first.
Okay. Oh, back in the jar, he says. Reusing the peanut butter. That's okay. I would have eaten the whole thing. That's just me. I'm a nut for peanut butter. Get it? See what I did there?
All right, what did you do?
No, nothing. I'm just not going to do anything.
Oh, sorry.
Looking for the boom, boom. There you go. All right, Marie. This shot is very cool. I love the fact that you're creating kind of multiple exposures by using a slow shutter.
Ah. Neat.
Right? So I'm actually curious. I looked at the exit for this photo as well, and I see that you're using the Sony A7. Now, the A7, pardon me, actually has an app you can download to give you the ability to do multiple exposure in camera. So technically, if you wanted to do multiple exposure with your camera, you could do that too, just by downloading an app. Isn't that awesome with cameras these days? You can download an app to give it totally different functionality.
Pretty neat.
Remember
Yeah,
Khalil?
that is pretty cool.
Khalil that worked with us, Navi?
Mm-hmm.
He had a 6, NEX6, one of the first ones that you can do that. He downloaded the time-lapse app, and he's driving to work doing time-lapse with his NEX6.
Oh, I never saw that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So that's one thing you could do with your A7, and it's really fun learning how to shoot these long exposures and you know, planning that timing out. She says she waited 30 seconds and then turned and then stood there as still as she could for another 30 seconds. I think that's brilliant.
That's
Good
cool.
effort.
Did it that way, as opposed to taking a shot and then, you know, rolling over. So that she did in one shot.
Yeah, it's all one single take, one image. And what are the EXIF settings they're saying? What's her f-stop? Probably very small, right?
Yeah, f20, 30-second exposure, ISO 100.
So this was actually probably a fairly dark room to begin with. With a 30-second exposure, you end up with, you know, so much light streaming onto the sensor that A, you have to close your aperture down to let less light in, and B, you've got to make your ISO as low as you could possibly make it. So she did all those things. Excellent job. Any thoughts on this, guys?
No, I like it. I like the execution. I like the idea. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, let's see what we have coming up next.
Sorry, I just got distracted by the. That looks like a hint of Big Hero 6 poking up over the blanket there or something. Anyways, okay, I'll stop scrolling.
I have no idea what you're even talking about. What's Big Hero 6?
It might be Big 6 Hero, but I always get the name mixed up. But it's a animated movie that came out for kids this year that was actually really, really good.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I know what you're talking about, the movie thing. And they have a game for it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. All right, cool. All right, so here's Lori's photo. I hadn't actually seen this. I think Lori must have just posted this one. Really neat. What is this, multiple exposure? Does she say anything in the notes?
Asking, in-camera effect to double exposure, my son caught up in a dream catcher.
Oh. See, that's one of those cool features that our cameras have, especially the Nikons, where you can take a picture, move it, and then take another picture. Now, both of you have full-frame Canon, and I believe you both have the multiple exposure built into your cameras, don't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
We've even talked about this on a few shows, where you can use this effect and create the multiple exposure. I think it's a great idea. And it looks like almost a sepia tone to the photo. So I wonder if you used any kind of effect on top of the multiple exposure, which I didn't know you could do. What do you think, Navi?
It's cool. I like it. I haven't really tried it out in the camera. Like, there's a couple settings where you can do dark. Gabe, you correct me if I'm wrong. Dark, light, and like it's basically how it overlaps. I haven't been able to wrap my head around it. So I think it's if you have it in your camera, it's really cool. You can should try it out and different things. This is a really neat picture. I don't know, like, or did you try a couple different settings before you settled on this one to see how they overlap? Because based on the setting that you pick, they overlap differently, like the highlights and the darks.
It totally with the it looks like sort of a sheriff's badge vest sort of thing with the lanyard and everything. This looks like it could be from a film camera in the 60s where the final exposure had 2 images
Oh yeah.
taken on it, just because of the tone, because of the costume, because of the get-up, because of the subject.
It's like the film didn't advance and they took another picture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember seeing those.
Yeah, I never did it because I didn't shoot with film, but you know.
I shot 1 roll.
And you had multiple exposures on that 1 roll.
No, I had a light leak in the lens, and every single exposure was just a big thing of white.
Oh, that's not good. That definitely does not make you want to keep on shooting film.
No, it did not. It did not. You know, it's like, oh, I'm confident about this now.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much, Lori. She says yes, she did choose an effect-in camera too, so that's awesome.
Yeah, cool.
So let's have a quick look at the last shot, and then we have to pick our winners. So if you guys can start thinking about who you pick as the top photo of the day, that would be fantastic. Okay, so here's another shot from Robert. Trying a different one, but ended up liking this better. So this is light painting. Robert looks like he's trying to delve into the world of painting with light. Now, my first thought when I saw this, and guys, you know, agree, comment if you have something to say here. My first thought was, I don't see a lot of focus on the shot.
Right.
So it's making me think about focus technique when shooting. So what I mean by that is one of the things that we do, Gabriel, when we do our night photography class is we teach how to focus before we take any pictures, right?
Right.
Use a flashlight, turn on the lights, do something where you can actually see everything or see contrast very clearly. Use
shine
your
in Gabriel's face, apparently.
Yes, shine it right.
I'm glad your Brinkman died.
Even with your eyes closed, you see spots with that thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to Dave Black about those Brinkmans because they're not impressing me right now. Anyway, so you turn on the lights, you get some contrast, you focus on auto first. As soon as you hear the little dee-dee, lock your focus to manual, and from there forward, unless the camera or the subject you're shooting moves, you don't need to mess with focus anymore. And you know you have focus because you've taken the picture, you zoom in on it, you make sure you can see that it's nice and sharp, and then you start playing with the light painting afterward. Another thing that I like to suggest when you're doing light painting is before you start painting with the light, take a black shot. So set up your situation, get your focus, and then do the exposure, but don't add the light. Just see how it looks first. Then when you start adding light, you know exactly where you're supposed to put it, and it gives you a better idea of how to get that look you're looking for. And also try and remember, as I showed you on my flashlights, put those little snoots on the tip of it so you can control and just have a little beam of light rather than just glowing light all over. And that might give you a little bit more control of where the light's going as well. But you know what? Great effort. I love the fact that you're trying it, and you know, good for you. Anything to add on that, guys?
No, I'd like to see some more from this series. You know, that when there was a half-second exposure at f13 ISO 200. So you know, I'd like to see, you know, if you stopped it down a little bit more and did sort of a 5-second exposure and with a, you know, a little bit more, that gives you a little bit more time to do creative light painting. And you know, snoot it up, and also, you know, the backdrop there, see how it's sort of, you know, like it's the edge of the table or something like that, like maybe getting a little bit tighter or something. And yeah, I'd love to see more from this series.
I might want to see like maybe the non-edited version to see, because there's some clipping sort of where the sort of pink is.
And that's another thing.
Like along really here?
And
up here?
There?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's really tough when you're doing light painting to know how long to keep the light and how bright to keep the light. But you know, I've been playing around pretty much every night for the past couple of weeks now, just pulling the stuff out and taking a couple shots, and you know, you learn a little bit more each time you do it, and you learn how long you can be on there and how much light is hitting the sensor the more you do it. So keep on trying.
You can't see it, like you don't know what you're gonna get until you
Yeah, and every photo is different. Every single time you try it, it looks a little bit different. So I love that. That's one of the coolest things. Oh, I just want to go back. Lori says no effect was used. It was just the multiple exposure. And she says positioning of the two images takes a little work, and also deciding which image needs to be taken first. Yes. That's something I wouldn't have even thought about, you know. The time you take the first shot, and then the second shot will overlay into the first shot better than doing it the other way around. So
yeah, and we played around with that for one of our shows, and I was doing some pictures with Trish in a black umbrella, and it really does it matters which one you take first for the superimposing. There's one photographer who does great shots with models and bouquets of flowers and stuff, and yeah, someday when I have some time, I want to really try and hone down that skill because it's really neat, and you could probably use it to make some really cool effects on a wedding day if you're confident about what it is that you're shooting.
Mm-hmm. Actually, it's funny, Gabriel. I always see that photo that you're talking about.
Yep.
And then, of course, the one time that I actually want to bring it into the show, guess what?
Can't find it?
I found it.
Oh.
So here, I'll do a screen share.
You set me up.
I did. With a big old letdown.
Bravo.
There you are. So this is
my picture.
Your picture, yeah.
The picture. Oh, okay.
With the umbrella.
He's so pretty.
So this is all done in camera, right?
Yes.
So which photo did you shoot first? Do you remember?
No. I think it was the picture of the boats.
And then you turned around.
Yeah, and then I turned around and shot her, and because she's a darker backdrop, the boats show up more.
That's right. Yeah, it's a really neat process. It's not easy to predict what you're going to get either. So, more cool things. All right, so that is there another photo to go over? Or is that it? That's it?
What? Ah! That's not refresh. Let me refresh the page.
That's it.
That's it. That's it. That's all.
That's it. That's all. Okay, well, very cool. Gloria says the multiple exposure is also cool for generational photos. You take a photo of a grandmother's wedding photo, the mother's wedding photo, and then the bride. That's a very neat idea.
That's a very cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to roll that into our wedding session. And then we'll have to pay Lori for the idea. Okay, that's probably not going to happen then. So, thank you everybody so much for submitting photos for our photo challenge. I'm going to ask Navi this week to pick the challenge themes for this week's show. And you can think about that for a few seconds, and we'll announce that in a minute.
Like ordering on the
menu. So much pressure. Okay, so I just want to remind everybody, first, thank everybody for submitting photos again one more time. It was amazing that you guys take the time to make some images for the challenges that we issue. And also, thank you for watching the show tonight and every week. We have a great time doing this. I love working with these guys, and it's just getting better. Don't forget the wedding session is coming up very soon, and that will be February the 15th, a day after Valentine's Day. And after that, we have our final Fire on Ice session. It's going to be our photo competition, I guess you could say, our spinner competition, the Fire on Ice spin-off for 2005. It'll be a lot of fun, and we're going to be doing this session for only $40. And if you want to come and be a spinner, you don't need to pay, and you have a chance of winning $100 cash prize for the best spin of the day. So guys, get your contraptions together. Let us know that you want to be a part of this. To be a photographer, it's only $40. To be a spinner, you can win $100. So very, 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 very cool. All right, so we have our photo challenges for this coming week, and for the Essentials Challenge, we're going to say repeat. That is the challenge for the straightforward challenge. And for the difficult challenge, we're going to call this 3 light sources. Interesting. Navi, explain what you're talking about here.
For repeat?
Yeah.
Well, it could be anything. I was just thinking about that Rihanna song today, Pon de Replay.
Oh,
So,
jeez.
thinking about music on repeat. That's what I was thinking about. But it could be patterns repeating. It could be music repeating. It could be me repeating. It could be anything.
It could be me, because that happens, like, all the time.
It could be twins or triplets. Huh?
Ah, that's a neat twist. All
And
right, well,
the 3
okay.
light sources, I want to see some creative lighting things. So let's see if people can sort of try to incorporate, 3 different sources somehow.
Now, do you mean like sun, flash, and natural, or just
Anything
3
you want.
flashes?
Anything you want. So it could be sun, flash, reflector. It could be sun, 2 flashes. It could be clouds and 3 flashes.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool. And that's even better and fairly poignant because on March 8th, I believe it is, you and Gabriel are doing a portrait session.
Ah, yes.
Where we'll have 4 different zones and we'll have all kinds of different lighting setups and so on. So this is...
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one as well.
I know, it's going to be great. So we've got that. That's also going to be at the Newmarket Community Center. Guys, there's so many cool classes that Daytripper's putting on. This show and the community is just where everybody can kind of bounce ideas off each other and, get that inspiration on a daily basis. But then come to the sessions and get this hands-on education. It's a completely different environment. Gabe, we were freezing on Sunday night. It was cold. And, one of the ladies who came was wearing sneakers and, not even laced up sneakers. It was freezing cold, and everybody had a good time.
Yeah. If you're looking for a fun cold event, not this Sunday but the Sunday after in Barrie, is the polar bear swim.
Oh, right, you're doing that.
So yes, I make bad life choices.
Bring a super telephoto zoom to zoom in your face.
Okay, so let everybody know what time you're going to be there and where it's going to be.
It goes from, so it's at the Barrie Lakeshore thing.
Bay.
Yeah, what he said, and bless you. It is February 8th, and it's from, so it's like from 12 to 1 or around there. And we went last year just to take pictures, and the guy standing next to me, he's like, would you do that? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do that if you do that. And he's like, all right, fine, let's do it. Under the understanding that next year never actually comes, but it is a year later, and he's backed out, but I'm still gonna do it. So.
Well, good for you, man. Of your word. That's awesome.
Do a lot of people usually show up to these things? I've seen it on the
Sorry?
news. Do a lot of people usually show up to these?
So I took pictures last year, and there was, at least a couple hundred people jumping in.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a long lineup. And I'm like, you know me, I hate the cold so much. I just hate it. But, there was literally 12-year-olds doing it, all the way from a woman that had to have been Trisha's mom's age, so, in her 70s or 80s. So,
Wow.
I'm not going to act like too much of a, oh, it's cold, when, literally 12-year-olds are like, dude, man up.
That would be the tone of your voice. Come out.
Yeah, it would be the tone of my voice.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Gabriel, 12-year-olds have that barrier still intact, that
Like,
numbness called stupidity. They just don't know any better. They're like, it's all about show. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're freaking freezing. They just don't want to tell you that.
Yeah.
So, don't go by 12-year-olds. And don't go by 80-year-olds either, because that's a flip side.
Yeah, it's like, I'll be dead soon anyways. No.
Whoa!
That
That was not cool.
was not okay.
Well, good luck with that, and I'm sure we'll talk some more about it before it actually happens. That's
So
right.
yeah, anybody wants to come down with the telephoto lens and take some pictures, you're more than welcome to stay at home and not do it.
Sunday. Oh,
Okay.
shit.
February the 8th.
Darn.
Yeah.
Stop working.
I know. I'm working too that day.
Aw,
I would so be there to support you on that, buddy.
that's all right.
Okay, so one last note. Next week, we have a special kind of a show, and it may offend some people. we tend to find names for shows that we think are weird, kind of weird, whatever, edgy, who knows what you want to call it. So next week's show, we are calling Fugly. That's Phul or Ugly. Okay, so Navi, explain the show Fugly.
I have no idea. I just saw your note on it, so.
You don't know? We thought of this together.
I was joking.
I thought that was a joke.
No, I think it's a very good topic. So what we're talking. Go ahead. No, you go.
No, I have no idea where you're going with this. So.
Okay, so you know how sometimes you have to do a model shoot, you have to do a shoot, a portrait shoot, something, and you don't feel like the person you're taking a picture of is
fun,
or as charismatic as you would like. So, Gabriel, your face is classic right now. Where are you going with this, Bryan? What's happening?
I'm not feeling so bad about my 80-year-old comment, and terrified about what the future holds.
Well, the bottom line is we have to make photos of people, and we have to make those people look amazing. I was taking a picture of a lady at the event that I shot on Saturday, and she was so paranoid about me taking her picture. And I kneeled down to her and I whispered to her, I said, you realize that whoever's going to see the shot doesn't know who you are. All they're going to see is a beautiful woman, and they don't have that personal attachment to it. So you look fine. So it's a matter of taking photos of people who aren't confident in themselves and giving them a photo that makes them proud, or having a group shot of people that you really don't think you can do much with, but you will. So we're going to revise the whole theme and work on it, and it'll be a lot of fun. So next week, the Fugly show will be on. Right, Navi?
I might be sick.
I feel something.
All right.
Well, I was just thinking, I mean, it's not necessarily like it doesn't always have to be people, because sometimes actually I'm just going through some whatever test shots, landscape stuff. I was like, this rock is just hideous. Like, why did I take a picture of garbage?
There you go. Yeah.
It's always those shots where you're snapping shots, but the second you take the picture, you're like, that's gonna be trash can. Kind of thing.
So what are we going to show people, how to avoid that from happening, or how to fix those?
It'll be a surprise. Tune in next week, guys.
Good answer. All right. So that's it for us this week, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. We hope to see you next week for our show. Whether it's Fugly or not, we'll see how it goes. And that's it. Anything else to add before we say goodnight? No?
I'm going to wear a Gabriel mask.
What, you're going to wear a Gabriel mask?
Yeah. Can we all wear a Gabriel mask?
That'll be classic. So, Navi, where can people find you to hire you for your wedding photography and all the awesome shooting that you do?
Fuglyphotos.com.
Excellent. And Gabriel, where can people get a hold of you?
They can reach me at everybodyisbeautiful.ca or bousquetphotography.ca.
There you go.
Well, so.
And Navi, you've got a whole new website. Come on. You got a whole new website.
NaviNhum.com or NavyNhum.com, however you want to say it.
Nhum. Awesome. Okay, and of course, check out Daytripperphoto.com for all the upcoming day trips we have. This is going to be a banner year between the wedding session and the Waterfalls North and Waterfalls West and the expo and all the really cool things we have coming up this year. It will be crazy busy and awesome fun. So hope to see everybody everywhere. And that's pretty much it for us tonight. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a good night. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.